Hello, and welcome to Mind Your Head, a space for people to share their stories, talk openly and honestly about their own mental health challenges, and to give some listeners some comfort in knowing you're not alone. This episode is brought to you by TLC Recovery Centre on the Sunshine Coast. Head to TLC Sunshine Coast, use the code TLC15MYH to receive 15% off and experience it for yourself. Before we get into today's episode, I want to quickly share something that I've been loving lately. Cooking's always been a big outlet for me. It helps me slow down, switch off, and put my energy to something creative. After a long day, it's honestly one of the best ways I've found to release stress and just reset. That's why I genuinely love HelloFresh. It makes cooking easy, takes the stress out of figuring out what to make, and the meals are actually unreal. So if you're looking for a simple way to eat better, enjoy cooking a bit more, check out HelloFresh. Use the code MindYourHead at checkout for up to $240 off your first 6 boxes. Jack, welcome to Mind Your Head, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on today. I admire you so much for the work that you're doing, the man that you are. You're doing incredible things. So thank you so much for being here today.
Elliot, thanks, mate. I really appreciate it. I'm always chuffed when someone wants to come and speak to me and just find a little bit more about what I'm doing, and also just great to shoot the breeze with someone else that's doing some really good work, because I've did some homework over the last few days, did some stalking. Yeah.
What did you see?
All good stuff, mate. All good stuff, mate. But, yeah, don't slip up.
Oh, that's awesome, man. What I like to do to start off with is do a little check-in. It's something that I actually do regularly with myself and my partners and my friends, that we do a bit of a mind, body and spirit check-in. So for you, how's everything going?
Yeah, that's a really good question, mate. I usually like to split these up into like personal and then professional, because it's easy to just lump it all in. I think we've all been guilty of saying like, oh, I'm real busy.
Yes.
That doesn't mean anything. Like, it doesn't mean anything for you personally. So I like to split them up, because it's important to give them both, I think, a bit of airtime, and it makes you actually think about what is actually going on. So I think personally, like, a lot of boxes are being ticked, and I can say that over a lot of different areas. Most of my relationships are really good. Hit a bit of a little wobble yesterday, like just seeing all this stuff on the news that's happened in Bondi.
Rattled me.
I live in a Jewish area. Like, all my neighbours are Orthodox Jewish families. I live next door to a Jewish school. I've got Jewish mates. So there was a little wobble there yesterday, and probably going to be felt for not only Australian Jews, but Australians all over, because it's really shocking. So I think that wobble will be felt for a couple of days, weeks, months to come. And then from a professional point of view, and I got told this by my therapist a couple of months ago. She goes, you're saying it'll be okay, and it will be okay, but maybe separate these things as like Jack Davis will be okay and It's Cool to Cry will be okay. You don't have to lump them both in together. So I think that was a good lesson to learn. And from a work perspective, things are going okay. Like, it's a tough nut to crack, starting a business and getting the wheels spinning and keeping it going. Not necessarily for me from a point of motivation and discipline. That's fine. It's about just bringing dollars in and knowing when the next dollar is going to come from, because probably like most people listening, you work from when you're 15 or 16, and if you work an hour, you get $20, and you get a bit older, then you'll get $30 or whatever, and then you sign contracts and go and work for people, and you get a wage, and that was that, and that's all you knew. So for 20 years, you'd know that, and then all of a sudden you push the chips in on a business in the middle of a cost of living crisis, and you go, fuck, where's this next dollar going to come from? So that's always hanging over my head, but I'm very conscious that, 3 years ago in my job prior, I was waking up with anxiety and dread. Now I wake up with stress and excitement, and I'm give me that stress and excitement every day. So it's just one of those things that I made the bed, and I'm just going to lie in it and get myself ready to make this work, keep going on how to make this work properly.
Yeah, because I really resonate with that, because that's like the trade-off with, doing something you love, that fulfillment, that passion that lights you up. So you get out of bed, like you're stoked to get out of bed, versus, for my sake of the argument, my job, where I go away in the mines, I wake up every day dreading Like every day for that 7 days I'm out there, I'm like, hope this day goes quick. I can't wait to get home, and I've never had a job. I was playing rugby and that was the dream, but that also came with a lot of stress and a lot of expectations, a lot of anxiety. But I'm jealous of people when I hear them say like, I can't wait for Monday. Like, I can't wait to go to bed Sunday so I can wake up Monday and do my job.
Yeah, that's jackpot stuff.
I just I've always been so jealous of that. And I've always been the person that's like, I've just been dreaded, I've never had a job that's been like fulfillment or passion or anything like that. I've just done the usual 9 to 5 or, slaving away for someone else. So, like we were saying before, it's like I found something that, like you, there's stress, there's all the pressures and stuff, but you still like, you can't wait for it. Like you love it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you mentioned you go to the mines and spend 12 hours on machinery, and whilst it's not physically taxing, it's mentally taxing. And you don't, not because you have to overthink things, it's because you just don't want to be there for those 12 hours. I hope your boss isn't listening. But anyway.
No, he knows. I tell him.
Yeah,
I'm quite honest with him about like where I am in life, and like you get people out there that are super passionate. They can't wait to move dirt, to dig coal, and there's other people like me that I'm coming out here to fund this. Obviously, I do my job as best as I can, but I'm not passionate about it whatsoever.
Yeah,
know?
And I think that relationship with your boss is so cool.
Yeah.
I was speaking to a mate on the weekend, and she was telling me how much her bosses impacted her mental health recently. And I think this is a common thing. And I already mentioned waking up with anxiety and dread at my old job, and that was to do with managers in that business. And I think we underestimate how much people in power, particularly at work, can affect our mental health.
100%.
And in the same breath, maybe those people don't realize how much impact they have on others. And that could be definitely not for this podcast, but a podcast on like, how do we get people better trained, not to be better managers, but to be better leaders?
100%. I talked about this with my supervisors. There's a lot of people in power that get in that role because they're really good at their core job, and they go, oh, well, you need to be upskilled, you need to be promoted. I'm like, yeah, but are they suited to be, people managers? Are they suited to be leaders? Yeah, they might be really good at digging dirt, but once you get promoted to a supervisor, you're actually not doing your core job anymore. Most of the time, 99% of the time, you're managing people, and a lot of people aren't good at that, or don't have the proper skill set, the proper training to manage people. And I'm very lucky that my manager, he's so supportive of what I'm doing. And he's always been like, mate, you don't want to do this forever. Like, you'd be unhappy. Like, you're away from your family. Like, go do what you actually want to do. I'll back you. If you need to take sickies or annuals and stuff, I'll write it all off.
Yeah,
like, it's
great.
all.
Love it.
Hope the actual boss isn't listening to that. No, but he's like, I'm very blessed in that way that he's always backed me from the very first time I told him about the podcast. He's always been like, yeah, go for it, mate. Like, absolutely go for it. Like, the safety net's always there. So I'm like, oh, thank you for that. Because I know there's a lot of people that don't have that same support. But what I also think is really important in that situation is both parties to be honest with each other. If you don't have aspirations to get promoted, if you're happy what you're doing, be honest with the boss. Boss, be honest with you. I said to him straight away, look, I don't want to get promoted. I don't want to get upskilled. I don't want to get trained. I'm happy what I'm doing. This is all I need because I'm focusing on what I'm doing back home. And he's like, oh, I really appreciate the honesty. Thanks, mate. And they'll move on to the next person who wants to get upskilled. So they're not upskilling the wrong person. I think that's really important.
Yeah. Well, everything I do points back to having conversations, and you've just nailed it there. It's like we can solve a lot of problems just by having a good chat.
It's a good honest chat.
Be honest with each other and have a good yarn.
Before we sort of get into everything that you're doing now, the work that you're doing, the man that you are, I like to understand the boy that you were, because a lot of us in how we love, how we grieve, how we go through life sort of impacts how we grew up. I'd love to get to know the young Jack.
You can. Can I be selfish for a second and get a check-in from you? Because I know you're about to go to a day of recording. You're away from home, all that stuff.
So, the professional check-in, I think we touched on it before. Like, it's been a wild ride. I reckon probably the last 12 months, it's really opened my eyes up to what's possible. I've always sort of doubted myself. I've always had sort of internal insecurities around what I can achieve in life. And the podcast has really highlighted what's possible and when I go outside my comfort zone. So the more I do that, the more doors are opening, the more people that I'm meeting, putting me in positions that I never thought I would be in, just by saying yes, just by being open, not sort of being scared to fail or, fearing what could happen. Because a lot of the time my whole life was ruled by fear, and I think getting outside my comfort zone, starting this podcast, super nervous, super anxious about it. I don't know how it's going to go. That's honestly changed my life. Like the people that I've met, the conversations that I've had are truly life-changing and the things that are sort of where my life is heading now. And not only that, like I've had my dad come on the podcast, right? And he didn't talk about his childhood I'm 34 now. So last year he came on the podcast, so 33 years, he didn't tell me about his childhood. Like at all. And I knew something like mom was like, don't talk about it. Like he had a really bad childhood. And I was like, righto. So what I learned from being a child, from watching dad, is don't talk about things that are painful and emotional. So I went through my whole 20s, sort of dealing with anxiety, not knowing how to handle it, got into drugs and alcohol, that led to depression. I had a suicide attempt, didn't tell anyone, didn't tell my dad. That's just how it got modeled to me growing up. And I made a deal with my dad that if you come on the podcast, I'll share everything that happened with me and you share everything that happened with you, right? And it was the most emotional, like I think tears were, within the first 5 minutes there were tears.
Yeah.
Like I got to credit so much to dad because he's, at such an age and a generation where it's so easy just to keep it buried or just be like, nah, it's all right. Like, I don't want to talk about it. Dad was so open and vulnerable, like did not spare any secret, like just told me everything. And it was really hard to sort of like stay in the moment, keep the conversation going while also dealing with what he was saying to me as a dad and thinking about, fuck, like, now I get it. Like, I get why you are the way that you are. Because for a lot of the time, I always thought, like, Dad's a bit of a dickhead. Like, was he such a hard ass for? Yeah. But I get it because he lived a life, from when he was born to 16 of a house full of, sexual abuse, emotional, physical abuse, drugs and alcohol. He's lost siblings to suicide because of the torture that he had growing up. Left New Zealand at a young age, fled, like, and never went back and never talked about it, like just buried the hatchet. And for the first time in, 50 odd years, he told me, but he told everyone what actually happened to him. And then I told him everything that had happened to me. And it was a really healing moment for us. But in terms of like the podcast, that wouldn't have happened if I didn't start the podcast. I honestly don't think that me and my dad would have sat down and had that conversation if it wasn't booked in, if it wasn't recorded. Like, you got to be at the studio at this time. You got 2 hours, talk, close the door. Otherwise, if it was at home, there's so much wiggle room at home to be like, we'll do it tomorrow. Like, it's all good. We'll do it another time. So, and that relationship's changed. That conversation has changed our relationship. Like, we finished the podcast and Mum messaged me saying, "What'd you say to him?" I go, "I don't know. We just had a chat." He goes, "He's different. He's lighter. He's like hugs and kisses and tells me, like, he gives me hugs and kisses all the time now, and he's softer and he can take the piss out of himself. He has a laugh. Like, he's just completely different." And it used to be like the relationship with me and my dad used to be, authority figure, scared to talk to him, even at like my age now. But after that conversation, it's like we're two mates. Like, we're on this same level. Like, no one's higher or lower. And he calls me up all the time and has chats about, like, he's retired now. He wants to get a hobby. He's going to start welding and do welding art and do painting. And like, none of that would have been possible if it wasn't for the podcast. So that's something I'm super grateful for is going outside my comfort zone and doing something like this. Personally, it's been such a journey for me because this has also been selfishly a healing journey for me as well, because I've always been very private, very I don't share anything about myself. I don't like to talk about myself. So in turn, this podcast as well, probably the last couple of years, has forced me to understand that the parts that you thought were disgusting and embarrassing, and there's a lot of shame around some of the things that you did to yourself and some of the things that you did to other people. It's helped me to heal from that.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's super uncomfortable when I still talk about the things that happened to me and the things that I did to myself, there's like a little bit of layer, like peeling off a bit of onion, a little bit of layer of guilt. There's a little bit of layer of shame or embarrassment or resentment that comes off every time I do talk about it. So I'm miles away where I was 8 years ago. A lot of that's got to do with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
She gave me no wiggle room in terms of, sugarcoating things. Or a lot of people would be like, "Oh, it's all right, Elliot. Like, it's all good." And I knew deep down a lot of the things was happening wasn't all good. I was having a lot of mental health episodes where I'll just lose it in anger and frustration for days. It'll go on for days. And Jordan witnessed a few of them. And the third time she witnessed it, she gave me an ultimatum. And she was like, "I'm here for you. Like, if you want to go get help, I'll always back you, like, no matter what. But if you want to have kids someday and have a family, I'm not having this standard, like this level of standard. I'm not having this for our kids. I can handle it, but not for our kids. So it's time for you to go search for some answers." And I needed it. Like, I needed that push because deep down I knew for years that something wasn't right. I was just so afraid of what I was going to find. Like, I was like, what's going to happen here? Because I knew deep down there's going to be some can of worms that are going to open up, and I wasn't too sure how to handle it. So she really pushed me towards seeking answers and seeking the things that I avoided for so long. And that was 3 years ago, and I've been on a journey ever since and trying to get better and understand myself. And a lot of it was around I had a lot of concussions growing up playing rugby. So like I was sort of afraid that I was getting early stages of CTE.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of mood swings, irritability, a lot of anger, frustration. The mood swings were massive. Like I could tell, she could tell straight in the morning when I wake up if it was going to be a good day or a bad day. And I couldn't get myself out of those bad days. I would just succumb to it and be like, oh, this is me, right? And it wasn't until I seen a psychiatrist, and we've got a sort of a family history of schizophrenia and bipolar, and he sort of put me on hasn't been, fully diagnosed, but we're sort of working on a spectrum of bipolar, a lot of those symptoms, which gave me a lot of clarity and understanding that that you can manage it. There's, you don't have to succumb to it and be like, this is me. This is my identity. This is me for the day or for 2 days or for 3 days, whatever it is. So she's really helped with that I've got a checklist. So my checklist, if I'm feeling low, if I'm feeling down, I'm feeling in those really bad sort of mood swings, she'll always come to me, have you gone to the gym today? Have you trained? I go, no, I haven't done that yet. Go do that. Mm-hmm. Have you gone for a swim? Have you gone outside? Have you met up with friends? Have you sauna and cold plunge it? Have you sort of focused on the creative side of the podcast? Like, I'm learning sort of piano at the moment. So it's like, have you done, get on the piano and activate those sorts of parts of your brain. So we have a checklist, and if I go through those checklists, by the end of the time, I'm in a good spot. So it doesn't take me all day or a couple of days to get out of it. It takes me a couple of hours and I'm back being me again. So I used to think of it as a burden. I'm like, why do I have to go through a checklist when I'm feeling low? Mm. But it's a great excuse because all those things are so beneficial for me. Mm. So it's a great excuse for me to go through those things and be like, not only is this making my mental health better, but physically, emotionally, like it's regulating my emotions was something that I really struggled with growing up, was putting words to feelings and emotions. And for a lot of time, like anger was really easy for me to get into. Like I could get angry so easily, but like sadness, like, empathy, compassion, like all those things I really struggle with. Mm-hmm. So it really learnt me to regulate myself. And like in the moment when I'm feeling frustrated or if I'm feeling triggered by something, that I sit with it and I sort of have like, I don't know if you've read the book Internal Family Systems.
No.
It's a really good book. So it goes into when you get triggered, there's actually a little version of you that was hurt or neglected or didn't get the attention or didn't get the love or got something that it didn't want. It's a little version of you that comes up, and then you've really in the moment you've got to stop what you're doing, have a conversation with that little version of you and go, it's right, bud. Like, I understand that you're hurt. I understand that you didn't get the love. I understand whatever it is, but I've got you now. Thanks for showing up. I don't need you right now, but it's all good. You're safe. And you actually have like physical conversations with little version of yourself. And it's actually helped massively. So yeah, in terms of my check-ins and how I'm feeling personally, better than ever. You know, really, really am. Like every day, like I can't remember the last time I had a bad day. Not saying bad days, you know, aren't normal or aren't common or anything like that. My bad days usually last weeks. Now I have bad moments in days, but I don't let it consume the day. But yeah, I've waffled on a little bit there.
That was a great tangent. I like this checklist thing, and that I remember you said, why do I have to do this to get myself out of the rut? But are those things that you do on a good day anyway?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So you get a great thing to do on your bad days and your good days.
It doesn't matter if it's a bad day or a good day. I'm still doing those things.
Yeah.
So it's just changing my lifestyle and my habits because they're the thing. They're just the small things that I had to change. And I used to think it was a chore, but I'm like, wait, I love exercising. I love having cold plunges. I love getting outside and going for swims in the ocean. I love doing all these things. So they're not like, oh, I've got to go do this today. This is awesome. Like it gets me to, and I never really, I took for granted all these small steps. Like I really thought like I had to have a big change in my life. Like something big once off needed to change. But what had happened was I just needed to change, 6 little things in my life that made such a big difference overall. And it was in terms of like keeping it consistent. Like some days you have a slip or might not do it all, but more often than not, I'm ticking off a lot of those boxes. And I know myself now. I'm lucky that I have the awareness now, whereas in my 20s, I had no awareness of how I was feeling or the emotions were running through my head. But now I have so much awareness. I'm blessed with that I have it now that when I do feel low, I instantly go, I'm in a low spot.
Yep.
Jordan, I'm in a low spot. Tell Jordan. She goes, I already know. Okay. Perfect. Well, I'm letting you know that I know. So I'm blessed to have that relationship with her that she can already tell that I'm in that low spot. So the awareness was massive for me to understand that in the moment you can just switch it. You don't have to like succumb to it and ruin your day.
Yeah, well done on doing all that work. And like the awareness is one thing, but it means fuck all without doing the action. And the action is what you're doing with those checklists or telling Jordan and saying, I know, and then going to do something about it. And I can empathise on a couple of things that you said, particularly about the anger, because you're talking to a hothead. Maybe a former hothead.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to talk about that later
absolutely.
too. But there's some great sharing in there. That was awesome. And also that bit about your old man, like that's a real privilege that you've put yourself in to be able to have those conversations. But like you said, you can have them at home, but the phone rings or someone knocks on the door or you can say, that's about enough for today.
Yeah.
But to be able to do that with your old man, that's really special.
Yeah, I had it all
sort
written
of
out.
Envious about that.
Yeah, like I've had a lot of people reach out after that episode saying, I wish I could do that with my family. I wish I could do that with my dad or my mum. And I'm like, you can. You can. Like I wanted to do it raw and real and record it all. And we could have had that conversation in private and then record the episode later on, but I wanted to do it and film it all and record it all because I wanted to show people that it's always going to be painful. It's always going to be uncomfortable. It's always going to be anxious and nervous and you don't know how it's going to go. And like me and Dad were both like just shaking because we're like, fuck, how, like both of us was just so anxious about how the whole thing's going to go. But I wanted to show people that you can do it. And on the other side of it is so much growth and healing. It shouldn't stop you. My whole thing is like, all because it's painful and emotional, it shouldn't stop you from having these conversations. If anything, that's more of an indication to have these conversations because I would hate for people to go through life and always wanted to have a conversation with their parent about something, whether it's good or bad, but they don't do it because it's fear of the uncomfortable feeling that you get. Like I want people to push through the cringe when it's painful and you want to quit and and it's in that cringe moment. I want people to stick in with it and just go through it because it's so rewarding on the other side. It honestly is. It's changed. That conversation's changed who I am, changed how I view my dad, it's changed our relationship with him. Like I have so much empathy and sympathy for him and the things that he's gone through. And like, I'm so much more understanding and compassionate for my dad and our relationship. I wouldn't have had that, and I would have regretted it, treating him or having that relationship for the rest of my life and not having that conversation with him. And then looking back going, man, I really regret that. Like I really regret not doing that. So regret's been a major motivator for me in having these conversations. Like I had a best mate who lost his dad to suicide, and for 10 years, we were all 20 years old at the time. I had no idea how to handle it. I had no idea how to talk to him about it. I was going through my own grieving, but then I felt guilty for grieving because, like, imagine what he's going through. How dare I feel bad because he's lost his dad? Like, I shouldn't feel any sadness. You know, I felt so guilty for it. And every time I was hanging around with him, I just wanted to take his mind off it. Not only did I want to take his mind off it, but I didn't know how to approach it. Like, how you going, mate? I had no idea if I was allowed to say that. Like, would he want me to say that? So for 10 years, he's my best mate. For 10 years, I didn't talk to him about it. And it wasn't until he came to the podcast as well that we had a 2-hour conversation. I asked him everything about it. And I was like, I feel so guilty for not asking you about that. And he goes, it's all good, mate. It's all good. I did wish you asked me how I was going though, you know? So that regret of not, you know, having a cringy, awkward, emotional conversation, they're those major motivators for me to have those conversations, because there were times where all he wanted to do was talk about his dad. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And I didn't give him that space. There were times where he probably wanted to bring it up and I was like, let's go play golf or let's go do something else. Like, that's just how I sort of thought he wanted to handle it. But we need to have those conversations with each other.
Yeah. And I think there's two people on the end of those conversations. Like, while he might have tried to bring them up, you might have shut him down, right? Which it was a bit of a lesson learned over 10 years or whatever. But also the way you're describing these conversations, the one with your dad, one with your mate, it's we've got to reframe these conversations from saying, oh, have the difficult conversation to have the worthwhile conversation. Yes. There'll be difficult parts of the conversation. You said cringe. Yeah. I say squirm. But the tears, like silences, uncomfortable moments, all of those are difficult things, but they come out in a worthwhile way. And that's why it would be, I think if we reframe the conversations to having worthwhile conversations rather than difficult conversations, where maybe we open up the door for people to go, oh shit, well, that's why I'm having them, because they're worthwhile, not because they're difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll just change their mindset around it. Yeah. Yeah, awesome.
You want to know me about as a boy?
I was gonna,
half an hour later.
Young Jack, what was he like?
He was a perfectionist.
Was he?
Yeah. And I don't know why that happened. Maybe I got told at a young age that I was a perfectionist, so I just upheld that. I was a goody two-shoes. I was a peacekeeper at one point as I grew older, and my brother and I were super close. And our parents started to split up, and I became the mediator and then the peacekeeper between the family. So I think that was just a role that you just had to play. And as the older brother, that's what you did. But Jimmy and I, my brother and I, we grew up in like a really loving household. It was lots of laughs, lots of jingles, lots of love. But in the same breath, it was like high energy, high octane, high emotions, high anger. So some of that washes off on you. And as an adult, like, that's what was modeled to you. So that's sort of what you know, and that's what you do. And how do you break out of that? You've got to go and figure it out. But as a young boy, like, I was very lucky to not have any major issues in our immediate household, apart from what I mentioned around maybe not having some of the great role models all the time. But in saying that, like with your old man, this is never about a witch hunt of like, they did this is why. It's just it's about finding information and finding out reasons why they might be like that as well, because their folks might have been acting like certain ways.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
100%. Absolutely.
And they're probably doing the best they can with the information they had, the time they had, the energy they had. So there's a bit of leeway there in that you can give them a bit of slack for doing that.
Yeah. Because I'm sure our kids one day are going to be saying the same thing to
Yeah,
her.
100%.
It'll be
They'll be on
something
a
else.
trying to get me on their podcast. Going, can you talk to me, Jack?
With you being sort of the peacekeeper, did you sort of unknowingly learn to sort of put your own emotions aside to keep the peace, do you think?
That might have happened. That might have happened. And I think as I got older and into mid to late 20s, I wasn't, as well as maybe being the peacekeeper and my emotions weren't necessarily being addressed, there was also a part of me that was burying and bottling emotions. And part of that comes with the story of how I got to start It's Cool to Cry, and that was around bottling and ignoring sadness, because if I was sad, I couldn't be happy, and if I wasn't happy, people didn't want to be around you. And then if I was angry, then people didn't want to be around you, so you had to be happy. But it all ended up backfiring. So you've already touched on talking about emotions, and that's when everything changed for me. It was when I was like, oh, you actually can be sad, and that's okay. And you can be angry as long as your reaction to the anger is healthy or not hurting people. I was like, oh, okay. I don't have to pretend to be happy. You're allowed to be sad, and you're allowed to be angry and all of the things in between, and still be a human being that people want to be around.
Yeah, because I really struggled with that, because I definitely wore masks growing up where there's a lot of people pleasing going on. There's a lot of insecurities around being liked or being validated, that I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be accepted, or I want to be liked by people. And I was so hyper fixated on that I just wore masks in any situation there was. So I was always trying to be the nice, happy guy, because I thought that's how you got friends, or that's how people accepted you, or like that's the persona I wanted to give to people. But like I still remember to this day, like I had such a bad relationship with myself where, I would be in social situations and be this happy, funny, like, trying to be charming, charismatic guy. As soon as I got home, I would be like, you're a fucking piece of shit. Yeah. Like that was the dialogue that I was having with myself. Like, what did you say that for? Like, you're not funny. You're not this. Like, try again tomorrow. Like, try harder tomorrow. And so I'd always like try to over exaggerate the happiness and the funniness, just the battle with all the, the pain and the insecurities that I was feeling for so long, that these masks I was wearing, I got to a point where I was like, I don't even know who I am. Like, I'm fitting in with so many different people, trying to be liked by so many different people. I have no idea who I am, what I like, what I don't like. And that whole identity shift like really spiraled me out of control, where I didn't know who to be, because I was trying to be the nice guy, and then the nice guy wasn't working, and I was like, oh, fuck, I can't be that person. I'm trying to be a good person. Like, I was just so over the place with, wanting to be liked, that my mental health really spiraled out of control, that I had no idea who I was.
This is ringing true to me as well. In primary school and early high school, is like I was just a fear of being like maybe alone or not liked. So you just tried to be liked by everyone. And you end up tripping over yourself. You do. Finding the wrong patterns, or you mentioned already negative self-talk. The negative self-talk, just, I think we all suffer from it. But yeah, like no one talks to us as harshly as we talk to ourselves. But to do that as a young person, whether you're a young boy or young girl or whatever gender, like it's just so harsh. And where do we even learn that from?
Exactly. Yeah.
So early.
So early on that I always, my therapist was like, we had a lot of deep chats about this, is like, would you say that to your best friend? Like what you're saying to yourself, would you, like if your best friend came to you, what would you say to them? And I'd be like, oh, be so understanding and compassionate, and be like, yeah, you need to do this. I'll support you all the way. Like, why aren't you saying that to yourself? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So that was a big turning point earlier on, was like treating myself like my own best friend. Like, you've got to talk to yourself like your own. But if your best mate came to you, what would you say to them? Say that to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hack. That's the hack. That's the one. That's the same way I got to to deal. Is like, would you say this to your best mate, and would they say this to you? And then it was also important is like, if you said it, that's okay. But then what's the version of that you would actually say? Like rather than saying, oh, you're. Am I allowed to? I feel like I'm just swearing a lot. Can I swear?
No, we can do whatever we want.
No C-bombs. We'll draw it there.
Yeah,
like,
no
C-bombs. No C-bombs. Be like, oh, Jack, you're a fuckwit. You're dumb. You're this. You're that. Like, you're so stupid. Why did you do that? You got to be better than this. And then like, whoa, would you say that to so-and-so? Would they say to you? And then you're like, what's the revised version of that? And have a go at it, because you got to practice that. And if you can't catch it in real time, you get the chance to then go and practice it straight after, which I think's the very, very close second to doing it in real time. And then with this talking to yourself, I've just lost my train of thought. But when we talk to ourselves like that, there's also a difference between a kick up the arse and a pat on the back. Like, I think there are times now where I lean into needing a pat on the back rather than giving myself a kick up the arse. It's like, okay, come on, Jackie boy, let's get on with it now. Like, enough's enough. And it's not try to bury things. It's about like, all right, we've had our moment. Let's try and get through this. Like, let it evolve or evaporate. Like, let's try and motivate ourselves to get it out rather than wallow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that helps with a pat on the back rather than a kick up the
ass. Do you have those internal dialogues with yourself regularly?
I thought, but isn't that normal? Doesn't everyone have this? My head's going 24/7. Yeah. Do you?
Not when I was growing up. Definitely, I could not sit down and say the family's around watching a movie or watching TV. I could not sit down and follow along to the movie because my brain was racing.
Yeah.
Whether what happened in the past, what happened at school to that day, what's going to happen in the future. I'm predicting what's going to be happening in the future. So like my brain could not switch off, and I would just be there like a zombie. And I would wake up and half the movie's gone, and I'm thinking, what happened in this movie? Like I couldn't follow along. I really struggled relaxing. I could not relax. I've gotten a little bit better at it now, just with the sort of the mindfulness and the breath work and the internal dialogue in a good way. I can sort of like go, thanks, I don't need that right now. And I'm just, like you said, practicing it where I train myself to sort of switch off. And I really needed that break because a lot of the time my brain would just be racing too much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need a break. And so what my break was growing up, especially late teens, early 20s, my break was drugs and alcohol. That was my version of a break. And that was just obviously making things so much more worse. So once I quit drinking, quit drugs, I had to deep dive into things that were healthy for me to give myself that break, that rest. So exercise, going out in the surf, the breath work, they're those things. Whether I'm doing something creative, they're those things that actually turn off the overthinker in me. That can give my brain a bit of a reset, a bit of a break. And I've become almost addicted to these things now where I can't wait to go to the gym. Like some people listen to music. I have my headphones in so no one talks to me, but there's nothing playing. Yeah. Like I'm just in my own sort of flow state almost where I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And then as soon as I leave the gym and I'm driving home, that's when all the thoughts start flooding back in. I'm like, oh, I've got to do this, got to do that. If I haven't done that. So I need those little breaks throughout the day.
Yeah, the intentional breaks. I'm with you. I'm with you. And we've lived a very similar life in that when you were saying you're watching a movie and you wake up, you're like, still, where's this movie gone? Like I remember watching sport. I love live sport, but watching live sport and then waking up from that snapping out of this moment of like wherever I was in, like in another world, work, personal, whatever it was. I mean, like I've not taken any of that in. Yeah. And same with the movies. And then I just got to a few things that have helped me is that but trying to be in the moment in that you can't change the past and you can't predict the future. So just fucking give it up.
Yeah.
Give it up. I think there's ways we can prepare for the future and learn from the past. But when we go on and catastrophize and start making up stories, that's when, again, you've got to catch yourself and go, whoa, hold it up. All right, then what are we going to do then? Like just focus and stay in the moment. And that, for me, has helped me a lot with just enjoying what's on telly or enjoying now, like properly listening to lyrics in songs rather than just having it as music, like properly listening.
It changes everything, doesn't it?
Everything.
It does.
And like when I go to work now, sit down at my desk at work, like it's just do that, just focus on the thing. And that has helped me. Those things like if we're not going to be in the past or the future, we're in the present. Like just do it. Try and do it as well as possible, and that's helped me a lot to try and stay out of my mind.
Have you got into meditation at all? Because I was so sort of wary of it because I can't sit there and, think about nothing. But it's the practice of meditation. What I found out was it wasn't the sort of the fact that you're going to sit there and sort of focus on one thing or whatever it is. So what I learned was the practice of meditation is when your mind wanders and you recognize your mind wanders and you bring it back again. That's the practice of meditation.
Yeah, that's the rep.
That's the rep.
Yeah.
So I love that because it's transferred into so many areas of my life. Doesn't matter what I'm doing, where I've catch my mind wander and I'm like, oh, there it is, and bring it back again. And that's the more you sort of catch yourself doing it, the better you are at sort of, bringing it back to focus, and the less it's going to wander around.
Yeah.
So have you been trying to do that?
I've dabbled with meditation over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And like when I say double, I'm like on for 3 months and off for 6. Like it's never become a habitual part of my day-to-day or my week-to-week. I'm slowly starting to get myself back into breathing. And I'm talking like low key. I'm talking the 11-minute free Wim Hof YouTube thing, whereas like it hits like 2 o'clock in the arvo. I can feel myself getting a bit tired. I'll just lay down in my office and do the 11 minutes. And for me, I find it easier because I'm concentrating on the breath only. I sort of like the challenge about how to like holding breaths and breath hold. That's what I'm liking about it. But when I was doing the meditation, and similar to what you said, it's like it's not about being, it is about being calm and still, but it's about bringing it back to whatever you're concentrating on, whether it's a particular noise, whether it's your breath, whether it's your stomach, your nostrils, whatever it is, just bring the concentration back to that, and that flows on into other parts of your life.
And we'll definitely touch on it a little bit later on, but it's just so relevant in today's society with, with social media and there's so many distractions in life that like your mind's going to wander a lot. Like it's going to get just distracted about so many things that like it's so important now more than ever to have that ability to, when things come into your mind or things sort of take your focus away, to bring your focus back to what you got to be doing in that moment. I'd love to sort of get into your story and find out a little bit about how you and Elle met, if that's right.
Yep.
Is it Elle?
Yeah, it's Elle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it? Yep. Do you mind talking about it?
No, of course not. Like everything's on the cards. If something's uncomfortable or I don't know the answer, I'll just let you know. But we met through a mutual friend, Tim and Casey. They introduced us to each other just on a night out, and then it was, one night out became, another dinner together or another date, just us two, and just flourished from that way. Real sort of organic tripping over it sort of thing. Nothing overly romantic or anything like that. No, not at all. Not at all.
What do you remember most about her?
Elle was like the loudest person in the room. You can hear her coming from a mile away. And she was silly. She was weird, like two of my favorite things in myself. And the people I get along with the most are the silly ones and the weird ones. Didn't take herself too seriously. She was caring, like really caring. Like Elle wanted to become, or was about to become a high school teacher. And she was smart. She read books and lent me books that I couldn't read because they had glossaries in them and shit. Like she was very bright and has a loving family, supportive groups of friends. She was social, easy to get along with, and all my mates loved her. She loved all my mates. And she was, maybe, looking back at it now, you sort of remember all the good things and all those things, but all those things are true, and they don't make any difference now that she's gone. She was still all of those things, and beautiful for her mates and beautiful for us. Yeah.
What's your favourite thing that she brought out of you?
Well, that's a good question. I've never been asked this one, mate. But I think the way that she would lean in and let me do the silliness and the weirdness, and then I would let her do that, and then it would just be a match of how do we keep this going, and there was never taking each other too seriously. And I'm not saying that we couldn't have heart-to-hearts or big conversations, although I was in my young to mid-20s then, and like mental health wasn't a thing. I just concentrated on physical health and that was that. I didn't really lean into these types of conversations. I didn't really know how to speak about these conversations because I'd never practiced it and I'd never done it. But when there were times they would arise with Ellie, and that was fine. But more often than not, we're talking about just mucking around and letting each other be who we really wanted to be around each other. Didn't have to pretend.
I was going to say, like, have that safe space where you can just be you.
Yep.
You don't have to pretend to be anyone else.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Watching her sort of fade, was it hard to sort of witness? And like you said, then, you know, we're just kids. We don't know about sort of mental health and mental illness. Was it really hard for you to sort of, as men, we're trying to fix things all the time? Like, I'm not too sure what the situation was or how you felt in that time, but was it really hard for you to sort of almost be helpless?
Well, yeah, I'm just gonna give the listeners a heads up here that the next part's probably gonna revolve around some mentions of mental illness and suicide. So if you need a break, pause, take a break, and come back if you need. But we're talking about being helpless when Ellie got sick, and Ellie went from. I remember we had a party on January 26th, and she was we had beer bongs like nailed to the fence, and like we were doing beer bongs off the fence, and she was meeting all my new workmates, and we were socializing with heaps of people. And then it only took from that day and another 3 months later, and Ellie was dead. Ellie died by suicide in that time. So we're talking about someone that on face value was, you know, social, still studying, still coherent, still happy on the outside, to then going over a matter of months, not having the motivation to leave the house, not having the strength to get out of bed, have a shower and those types of things. And at the time, I remember feeling like I need to support Ellie. I don't know how to do this. So I went to see a therapist to figure out how to do this. But Ellie got so sick so quickly that Ellie ended up dying before these therapy appointments could start. So,
oh wow,
yeah, I still went on with the therapy appointments because now it was not just about learning about what mental illness is. Now I've got to learn about what suicide is and how does someone like Ellie, the loudest person in the room, go from that to taking their own life. And then the other part of it was around grief and grieving and how to do that as a young person for another young person, especially around suicide. So seeing Ellie get sick, like there are some things that I can't share and won't share just because it doesn't make the story any, it doesn't help anyone else. But there were some really tough moments in there with Ellie, and as a young woman, I can't imagine like how much actual pain she must have been in for however long. And I've spoken to mates of Ellie's that knew Ellie long before me, is that we don't know how sick Ellie could have been, how long Ellie could have been sick for, because we don't know if she was pretending or not, or masking before she started to show physical symptoms of being sick and wanting to take her own life. So there's a lot in there. But what I can tell people is that it happened really, really quick, and it was really, really surprising and shocking. It not only that it started, but how quickly it ended for her.
I guess those moments change everything in your life. The grieving process and understanding more about sort of Ellie and her mental illness and in mental health in general. How was that journey sort of after Ellie passed, going through your own grieving process as a young man, but also trying to wrap your head around like, how did this happen?
Yeah. Maybe I'll answer the second bit first because the first question is still going. It's still happening, the grieving process and learning all about that. So it was about learning about mental illness and suicide, right? And how does this happen? Well, I had to learn really quickly about what is suicide because apart from one of Dad's mates and maybe one other person, this was something that happened to friends of friends or on the other side of town, not something that happened to me. And I had to learn quickly about how does this happen? How does someone who has what appears to be the foundations of a happy, healthy life. Like I've mentioned that she was bright. I mentioned that she was educated, social, had mates from primary school, high school, uni, all of her jobs, a supportive family. How does that affect someone? And how does someone that has all those things end up taking their own life? And the only way I could come to terms with it is that Elle must have been in so much pain that all of those things stopped to matter. And they didn't matter anymore because Elle was in so much pain. The only way she could deal with it was by self-harm or taking her own life. And also recognizing that just like no one chooses to have a heart attack, no one chooses to die by a heart attack, no one chooses to die by suicide. Heart disease is an illness. What Elle had was an illness. And take the blame out, take the shame away, take the anger away, because it's not that they were selfish. And in fact, people that die by suicide, the old school way of thinking about it is they're selfish. They took their own life or they committed suicide. These types of old language. Again, people don't commit a heart attack. People don't commit suicide. People die by a heart attack, die by suicide. So that's an important thing that I learned. And take away this notion that they're selfish, because in fact, people that are in this much pain are thinking they are actually being selfless by taking themselves away from this life because they don't feel like they belong. They don't feel like they're loved. They don't feel like they're worthy. They feel like the people around them would be better off without them. So they are taking themselves away and being selfless by taking their own life. And this is how illogical the thoughts can become when people are having these suicidal thoughts. And you might be able to speak to this a lot better than I can because of what you've been through. But if we let, they're sneaky thoughts. And if you let the sneaky thought in, it will sneak around you so that you can sneak around other people. And I mentioned that we don't know how long Elle might have been sick for, because she might have been masking for a lot longer than we know. I've had mates that in similar positions to Elle, they've had amazing jobs, amazing family upbringings of their own. In fact, I'm going to talk about him now. Bo, a mate of ours that we lost 18 months ago to suicide. Amazing family upbringing, had a young family of his own, had a great job. He's articulate. He had the looks. He was funny. He was social. He was witty. He had the hobbies. He was athletic. But no one knew that he was sick. No one knew that he was in pain. And he ended up dying by suicide himself, which can only tell me that as Bo was getting sicker and as Elle was getting sicker, their fear of judgment was going up. Their guilt was going up and their shame was going up. So as they get up and they get sicker and sicker and sicker, so does their ability to be able to talk about what's going on. And if you get up too far up this scale, then there is no chance that you can talk about it and bring yourself back to where you need to be and become more rational and logical with your thoughts. So I've learned a lot about suicide. I've learned a lot about grief because of this. Do you want me to answer the bit about the grief now, or do you want to talk about some of your experiences with suicide?
Do you mind?
I think it's a really great time to do it. And like, what do you think and how do you think about it now?
Everything you said then was spot on to how it felt for me. I came from a very loving, great upbringing, everything I ever needed, everything I ever wanted. Some would say successful playing rugby. A lot of people, when my story sort of came out, a lot of people said to me, I never would have thought that. You always look so happy. I go, that was the idea. I wanted you to think that. Like, us that sort of go through that, we are masters at hiding these things. I remember first feeling anxiety when I was, I went into the army after school. When I got out of the army, I went traveling to Canada with some of my best mates, 8 of my best mates. And this is the very first time, and it feels like yesterday. I'll never forget this moment. We're in Banff in a ski resort, and we're all drinking and having fun. Like, all of us are 20 years old, 21 years old. And it was the very first time where I felt this wave of sadness come over me. I've never experienced it. That was the first time I ever experienced it. And for about 5-10 minutes, I was sitting at the table and all of a sudden I just felt so empty and sad and like, whoa, what's going on? I felt like crying. I was like, what's going on here? And then as quick as it came, as quick as it gone, like 10 minutes later, and then I was back to being me again, and that scared the shit out of me. I was like, what was that? I went home, told Dad what had happened. And obviously we didn't talk about it, but Dad has history of that. So he sort of, I could see the look in his face and he was like, shit. So we went through processes of sort of me trying to be more open about talking about that moment. But every time moving forward, I would drink, I would get this overwhelming feeling of sadness, and it would last longer the next time. It would go away, and then the next time it would last longer. And through the footy culture and just the party culture, I think I started taking recreational drugs. And that silenced everything in my head. It was the most euphoric feeling I could ever feel in my entire life. Like some people would take drugs and go out and party. I would take drugs and sit down and just relax. Wow. Like it was that soothing for me. It was so soothing for my brain. And that became so addictive. And so I was trying to be a professional footy player while also on the side being a, borderline drug addict, functioning drug addict. And you talk about sort of these thoughts that come to your head that you don't, if you don't address, they can, snowball into these big, big thoughts. I remember driving home from training and the constant negative chat, you need to be better a footy player, you need to be better son, you need to be a better friend, you need to be better. Like I was put so much pressure and expectation on myself to be a better version of what I was, that I remember driving home from training one day. It would have been about 9:00 at night. And the thought of suicide came into my head. It was the very first time that I ever thought about. I just remember thinking, if I did it, how would I do it? And I didn't say that was a weird or I need to go talk to someone. It just sort of left my head and then didn't think anything of it. Just thought it was a normal thought, which it's not a normal thought. And then, 2 weeks later, I was driving home from training again. And that manifested into, all right, if I did it, and I started listing ways that I could take my life. And it was so like calm that it was almost like a shopping list that you go on to Woolies and like, all right, what do I need to get from Woolies? That's how calm I was and about talking about the ways I could take my own life. And I didn't think it was a weird thing. I didn't, go, I need to seek help. I didn't think I was heading down a road. I was just like brainstorming. That's how sick I was without me even realizing that's how sick I was. That these thoughts were just common things for me. And a bit like Elle, that within about 6 months of those initial thoughts of suicide came in, where it just snowballed into the point where I was letting these thoughts come in. It was, every couple of weeks, and then it came in it was daily. It was daily. Like, I made a pact with myself that when I can't play footy anymore, I was going to take my life. So I thought I had no future. I thought that I'm not good at anything else. As soon as rugby, I can't play rugby forever. I acknowledged that. I realized that I can't play footy forever. I don't want to do anything else. I'm not good at anything else. I'm worthless. And it got to a point where you talk about, these people have all these positive things in their life. Like from the outside looking in, they're these wonderful support networks and friends and family, and they're happy, they're lively, they're all these things. But from the inside, I couldn't see any of that. It was like I was in my own little bubble, and I honestly thought that my friends were only my friends because I was good at sport. I was good at rugby. That's the only reason why they were hanging around me. I thought I was a burden to mum and dad because they were sort of always a bit worried about me, and I never spoke to them about it, that I was always thinking, man, they're in constant worry about me. Like, I just need to remove myself. Like, they just need to stop worrying about me forever. And it got to a point where I honestly thought I was giving them a gift. that was the gift. I was giving them like, you guys take this, please. Like, you'll love it. Trust me, your lives will be better. That's what I was thinking. I was so sick that I thought it was a gift to the world that I was gone. And within 6 months, I remember the drug taking escalated massively to the point where it was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, diving in to the point where I never wanted the high to go away. So the more I take, the more I get resilient, the more I sort of get used to it, the more I'll take. I never wanted to be in my reality ever again. I wanted to be in this high, because in this high, I'm a different version of me. In this high, I'm like, I don't have these worries anymore. I can just be free. And so the drug taking was escalating. And then within 6 months, I remember going out. I was going out a lot in Brisbane, and I remember going out, and it was like 3 or 4 in the morning. Places were shutting. Boys wanted to go home. I was like, no, let's not go home. Let's who wants to have kick-ons? Like, someone wants to do it. And everyone's like, mate, it's got work in the morning. Like go home. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking go home. Like, I don't want it to end. And I remember like always having like a large amount of drugs on me, because that was my release. That was like my medication. Like I was dependent on it. And I remember like going back to my apartment, and I had a girlfriend for 5 years, and during this whole process, and I broke up with her thinking that she was the problem. I'll feel better if maybe it's the relationship, maybe the love's not there. And she did nothing wrong. So I had to explain to a girl that I was dating for 5 years that I don't want to be with her anymore because I don't feel like it. I couldn't explain to her. And she was like, what the fuck? And I was like, I couldn't put into words. And she moved overseas. And as soon as she moved overseas, I was like, I feel the exact same. Like, it wasn't her. It's, maybe I should stop playing footy. I gave footy a break. Still there. Like, I was putting the blame on so many things in my life where, they were going through the checklist of like, who can I blame for this? Who can I blame for how I'm feeling? And I was just cancelling people out of my life, like things that I thought were the issues. And it all bottled up to one point where it was just like, it almost solidified the fact that it was me. And that was so hard to take that I'm like, fuck, I'm in too deep here. Like, there's no coming back from this. I don't even want to come back from this. It's so embarrassing. I was so much shame. Everyone's going to know. Like, there was so much of that chat in my head that I go, I actually thought about running away. I never told anyone this. I thought about running away. I was contemplating, I was looking at maps around Australia where I could run away to and move and start a new life. And I honestly thought that if I went there, I would just be another failure. It would just be me failing, being a loser, all these things. And I'm like, well, why would I do that? I may as well just end it now instead of sort of moving away. And I just took a bunch of, it was like 3 or 4 in the morning. I took a handful of drugs, and I thought to myself, if I die, at least I'm at peace. And if I make it out, we'll just try again another time.
I've always asked my guests, what are your 3 non-negotiables for living a healthy and full life? For me, it's movement, community, and good nutrition. I've learned that what you fill your body with plays a massive role in how you feel physically and mentally. That's why I use True Protein. They're an Aussie brand doing things the right way. Clean, natural supplements with no artificial additives or fillers. Everything's made in-house in Sydney's northern beaches using the highest quality ingredients sourced from around the world. Whether it's supporting energy, improving focus, or reducing fatigue, their products genuinely help me show up better every single day. And just like Mind Your Head, they live by values I stand by. Be true, be you, and take care of your whole self.
And I remember sort of waking up like in my own vomit, in my own piss, throbbing headache, like so disorientated and full denial. Denied it for the rest of the year. That happened halfway through the season, and denied it till New Year's that same year. This was like, didn't tell anyone about it. But it was like, oh, that's just an overdose. Like, went too hard that weekend, didn't I? I went way too hard. And just tried to forget about it. And it wasn't until I that same year in New Year's, I went on a bender down in Sydney for like 3 or 4 days and was on all sorts of drugs, and came back to Brisbane and couldn't sleep. Like, my nervous system was so fried that I took too many drugs and too many different kinds of drugs that I couldn't sleep. Like, I literally couldn't sleep for like 3 or 4 days. And I checked myself into hospital in Brisbane.
and had to tell the nurse what I had. And she looked at me and she could tell, like, I stunk. I would have been, I would have looked in all sorts. She admitted me straight away, put me on a drip. She was like, you are so dehydrated. Like, my piss was black. Like, I just had nothing. I had a carton of waters next to me. And obviously my emergency contacts with mum and dad, and because I was so broke, spending all my money on drugs and alcohol, I couldn't even pay for the hospital visit. I had to call mum and dad up and say, hey guys, I know it's midnight, but I'm in hospital. Just, came back from Sydney, couldn't sleep. Like, I'm all good. They knew I wasn't all good. So they had to pay for the hospital visit. And just like that, the call with mum and dad, when they said, are you all right? And I paused and I went, yeah. And there was a 4-second pause on the phone. And we were both just like on the phone. No one was talking to each other, but we both knew that I wasn't all right. I knew they knew, and that obviously they knew that I wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And we hung up the phone, and the sort of chaplain was going around, like the hospital chaplain was going around. He was like, is everything sort of going to people's beds and stuff, and asking questions, and not religious man at all. So I was like, get away from me. And then, he came over and he's like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, nothing. Just had a big weekend down in Sydney for New Year's, And he's like, is everything all good at home? And I'm like, yeah, like me trying to play the character and have that mask on. And I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. Like, I'm good at manipulating people. I'm good at lying to people. And he's like, are you sure? And he could see straight through me, like straight through me. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm all good. I'm all good. I almost got almost defensive about it. And it wasn't until that moment there where I know a lot of people go through their own therapies and their own rehabs and that sort of thing. But I still remember this day laying in a hospital bed, crying, looking up at the ceiling, and like a flick had switched in my brain where I really thought about what I did and what I'll possibly do if I keep going, what I was going to do to mum and dad. Mum and dad came over from New Zealand, with stuff all money, raised 3 boys. We had the best childhood, camping every weekend. We had everything that we needed. And this is how I was going to repay them. There was so much anger in me at myself that there was no way that parents should ever bury their children. And that's what I was going to put my mum and dad through. Like, how dare I do that? All because I was too afraid to look a little bit deeper and understand who I am and actually ask questions and figure out like why I am the way. And I was always afraid that I was broken, that I could never be fixed. And that's not true at all. We all have our own things going on. I just let it fester for too long because there's a lot of fear and insecurities around me. And I remember getting checked out of hospital. I moved straight back to the sunny coast. I stopped hanging around with the people that I was hanging around with. I went back to my old friends on the sunny coast that were my, support network, was my sort of comfort zone. Changed a lot of lifestyle habits, saw a psychologist for the first time that I was so afraid to see. And we had 5 sessions with her, and I was very lucky that I found someone that I really connected with, and she just let me talk for 5 sessions. Like, she did not say anything. She goes, what's on your mind? And I would say something like I'm doing now, and I would pause because I'm like, oh, that's all I've got left. And she would say, what else? And I go, what else? And then I would word vomit again, and an hour would be up. She'll see you next week. And I'm like, oh, righto. And I still remember like talking about it for the first time, and it was such a good feeling for the very first time, like the weight off my chest. I was like, oh man, like, the comfort and acknowledgement to understand that it's not just me. I'm not the first one. I'm not the only one. We're all going through something in our lives. Like, it's nothing to be, ashamed about. And that first initial chat just opened up the door for me to just be a bit more open with myself and not feel so guilty and embarrassed. The shame and embarrassment was massive. And it's still like sharing the story. Like I said to you before, there's still like those feelings that come up, and I don't know if they're ever going to go away. But it's so important for me to keep talking about it because it does feel better. Like, I'll finish this conversation and I'll feel 100 times better for sharing the story. So there's a lot of things that, what you said about Elle really, really resonate with me in terms of,
what you saw on the outside.
Mm.
I had a lot of friends and family come up and they say, fuck, I would never have guessed that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the disguise that I was trying to show people, that I was trying to be overly happy. I was trying to be overly caring and funny, because on the inside, man, I was battling.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Can I ask you that? Thanks. That was amazing, by the way. Thanks for sharing all that with me.
That's right.
And can I ask you just a couple of questions about what you would say to other people going through maybe something similar to what you went through, from that first night riding home from footy training to speaking to the chaplain? Like, what things would you say to someone right now that's anywhere between those two circumstances?
I think the first one, when like one of my questions to you is, how do you know when to go talk to someone, right? You know, and I chat to a lot of kids now, and I've always been an advocate for being proactive around your mental health, not reactive. So what I was there was reactive. I would wait for something bad to happen, and then I would react to it and hopefully try to get better. So I chat to a lot of kids now, a lot of, it doesn't have to be kids, like early teens, late teens, early 20s and stuff, where these thoughts come in. I try to be a bit more proactive around your mental health. So if you're having these insecurities or having these thoughts in your head, if you're having this negative chat, I'm always like, if you want to talk about it with me, happy to chat about it. Talk about it with a parent. If you don't have like a parent that you can chat to, if there's another guardian in your life, there's a friend in your life. If you feel better, like for myself, I felt better talking to a professional, someone that I didn't know.
Yep.
Like I really felt a lot of comfort there, not talking to my mates. I know everyone has their own sort of network circle that they like to talk to, but I felt, because there was so much shame and embarrassment that I had in me, that talking to a mate, I just felt like he would be like, what? Like he wouldn't understand.
Yep.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, or a parent would be like, they would worry. I don't want people to worry or give me sympathy or treat me any differently. I was really like worried about that. So I felt a lot of comfort talking to someone that I didn't know, talking to a professional that could not so much give me answers, but give me that feeling of safety, that it's all going to be okay. Because for a lot of the time, I didn't think anything was going to be okay. And this lady, she was amazing. I felt okay. For the first time in my life, I felt okay.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing, is just being a bit more proactive around your mental health. And what was the other one? Versus.
Well, I'm just saying, if there's listeners out there that have been that are in a similar state of mind, like what would the nuggets be?
Yeah.
And I think you've hinted on it. It's like speak to anyone or speak to someone. You were able to find connection with a psychologist that was unbiased, unjudgmental, and that helped you. Is there anything else that you could tell someone to get them, to encourage them?
For me, I really felt alone in that moment.
Yep.
You know, I really felt isolated, even though I was probably isolating myself too. And I had friends sort of reach out and sort of just tiptoe around. You're all good, yeah, mate, I'm all good, and then nothing from it. So I think I've got a mate at the moment who's sort of going through it, and I am in his grill all the time because I think back to what I was going through, and the simple text message, "Hey mate, you all good?" And I could just say, "Yeah, mate, all good," and then that's it. You know, it's so easy to tiptoe around the area, whereas I am in his grill. You know, whether he likes it or not. Yeah. I am up him all the time, like calling him, going around to his house unannounced, like being that annoying friend, because I know when you're in those moments, you don't feel like doing anything. You don't feel like doing anything. And for me, I really felt alone. So me being present in his life, no matter what's going on, at night or day, I want him to know, well, Elliot's going to be there. Like, Elliot's reliable. Like, even when I don't want him to be there, you know, he's going to be there.
Yeah.
You know, having those friends in your life, and also if you are the friend of someone who you think may be struggling, don't tiptoe around it. You know, be that annoying friend that is constantly, you know, asking them whether you're showing up in their life, whether you're holding space with them. And if they want to chat about it, you hold space with them and no judgment. But also if they also want to get their mind off it, go do something with them that they really love doing. Like, be present in their life and make sure they don't feel alone, because for me, that was a hard thing for me to understand, was that even though I wasn't alone, even though I had friends and family around me, I still felt terribly alone.
Alone, but you weren't alone, but you were lonely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Because I think when we're getting onto the suicide topics, a lot of people sign off by saying, hey, if you know someone that's struggling, reach out to them. And I think that's only part of the equation. And to your point, be that annoying friend, and you're allowed to say things like, are you having suicidal thoughts? Because they're already having it, whether you like it or not, they're having it. So you're allowed to ask them this. Are you having suicidal thoughts? Do you have a suicide plan? Do you plan on acting on it? You can be very upfront and open by asking those questions, and you will get better results than by saying, are you doing okay? It's okay to ask those questions.
Yeah.
It's not okay to say things like, are you planning on doing something silly? Or you're not planning on doing something silly, are you? Because I'll ask you, did it seem silly when you were making your suicide plans? Of course not. So if we say something like, oh, it's silly, it's diminishing and minimizing the whole experience. You are not going to get the results you want by saying, are you going to do something silly? But if you say, hey, I'm here for you, I care for you, I love you, that's coming from a place of care, not a place of judgment or worry. Then you go, I've noticed this, I statements, no blaming or anything like that. Do you have these plans? Are you going to act on them? Go from a place of curiosity, and that's where you can get some better results. And then there's the other pocket of where people don't sign off by saying, if you're having suicidal thoughts or if you're struggling right now, you're allowed to do it. And you mentioned things like being broken. Like, we've got to get better at telling people that they're not broken. They're just going through the shit at the moment. Or you might feel alone, but you don't have to be lonely. There are people out there that can talk to you and will want to talk to you. And I guarantee, just like all of Bo's friends, Ellie's friends, and all the others that I've lost to suicide, they would have picked up the phone and had the conversation. They would have sat in the mud with that person and had the conversation. There are people out there that will have the conversation with you. And just like you did with your therapist, it's probably not a conversation. All they need to do is just listen and let the person talk. And just let them fucking talk.
That's all it was. For 5 hours, 5 sessions for an hour, she let me chat. And she didn't say anything, you know? And it wasn't until that after the 5th session was like, all right, let's go talk about it. And a lot of it was like childhood stuff, a lot of stuff that I didn't realize was sort of filtering in my life. Like, I'll tell you a story that I don't really like sharing too much, just because there is a little bit of shame, and I don't want it to look bad on family or poke the finger at, put blame on someone. But I had really trust issues with people because I was bullied a lot by my brother's friends growing up, my older brother. And my older brother knew about it and didn't do anything about it. And my mum and dad knew about it and they didn't do anything about it. Whether that was reality or not, that was reality for me. I knew everyone knew about it, but yet I was still sort of getting bullied. And it wasn't the bullying. The bullying was pathetic. It was the fact that they knew about it and they didn't stand up for me. They didn't have my back. And I remember going to the kitchen one day and grabbing a knife and pulling a knife on my brother's mates to get them to stop. Like, they were holding me back and I was trying to stab them. I would have been 13 or 14 at the time. And from that moment on, I just thought, all right, my family will be there in good times, and I didn't know that this was going to play out the way it was going to play out, but unconsciously I was like, my family won't be there in the hard times. Like, I can't trust them in times of need, when I'm struggling, when I've got shit going on. I've learned to grab the knife and do it myself. Yep. So what happened growing up when things were when I struggled with things, I would never talk to my mum and dad or my brothers about anything.
Because they weren't there for you.
They weren't there for me, and what did I crave, in relationships? What did I crave in friendships moving forward? All I wanted was people have my back. Like, the things that you wanted the most are the things that you'd crave, or things you didn't get are the things that you craved the most in relationships. And, the people that I leaned towards in my life, where I knew they would have my back through thick and thin. They're the things that I love the most. And that's something that I really struggled with and I had to heal from, was letting people in. Because I always was like, what's the point of letting people in? They're not going to have my back. Yeah. So I'd cut people off before they had a chance to hurt me. Yeah. So that's like, obviously the things that I went through with therapy was not only, feeling isolated and not telling anyone about, some of the things that I was going through, a lot of it filtered back to I don't trust anyone to be there for me. They're the things that I had to heal from. That I had conversations with my mum and dad and my brothers about this and my friends group about this too. Like the reason I didn't let you guys in, I know now it's because of, things that happened as my childhood. I don't trust anyone because what I learned earlier on is that people that I let into my life wouldn't be there for me.
Yep.
So that's a major thing that I had to really heal from. And even with my wife now, we've been together for 8 years. That was a massive learning curve for us as a couple. Even being with her for a long amount of time, I still kept her at arm's length because there was still doubt that she wouldn't be there for me or she wouldn't have my back. And she was very persistent. But I remember driving home. She picked me up from work, and I was driving back home, and she asked me, "Do you have trouble letting me in?" Right? I cried for an hour. I cried nonstop for an hour. And I was like, yeah, like I told her everything. I told her what happened. I told her all these things. And she's like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, it's okay. I'm not going anywhere. And I was like, oh, like, and I reckon for the first, that happened last year. And we've been together for 7 years up until then. Right. And that was the first time I actually felt like I was letting her in, And I didn't know that I was doing that, but she could tell. Like, she could tell that I wasn't given, she wasn't seeing the real Elliot. She was seeing bits of, versions of me that I wanted her to see. But I think for that very first moment, she was like, oh, I see you for you and I'm not going anywhere. And like, I fell in love with her so much harder and faster and so much more because of that moment where she just made me feel seen, heard, validated, loved, truly loved. And I don't think I had felt that for a very, very long time.
And she's saying she's not going anywhere, despite all the flaws opposite to what you experienced with your brother and his mates.
Yeah. She was always going to have my back. How long we got left? I don't even know how long we got left.
I don't know. No rush for me.
No rush for you?
Rush
What's
for
the
me.
time?
It's 25 to 12.
Okay, cool.
Should we have a mid-podcast hug? I feel like
do you want to have a hug?
Yeah, for sure. It's been a lot so far. Oh, yeah.
I appreciate
That's
it.
good shit.
It's funny, like I've got how I want the episode to go.
Yeah.
And you know what's amazing? It never goes how I plan it to go, but it goes even better.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
No, good stuff.
I think what I kind of like wanted to.
There was a second part to your question. It was around grief and grieving.
Yeah, grief.
Do you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about grief because it's something that obviously I've had to go through with terms of friends, dads sort of passing away, and then obviously grieving my own journey. I know grief is always, seen as someone that you lose as well, but I've gone through my own grief of losing me, losing that different version of me. I'd love to get obviously you're still, grief comes and goes and, everyone's got their own version of how it affects them. How's it been for you?
Yeah, I think grief, the way you've just spoken about it then already, grief, we associate it with death. It doesn't have to be. It could be, you could grieve the old you could grieve relationships, you could grieve old jobs, whether you get fired or go get new jobs. Grief can come in many, many forms. But I'll talk to how grief and I didn't get along at the start and how I've had to learn about it or chose to learn about it to help me get on with life and make sure life was going to be sustainable and something that I could endure. Because when Ellie died, I was obviously upset. Like, it's a tragic thing, and I was in bits. I was crying all the time. I'd be crying in the car, in the shower, waking up, falling asleep. And I remember getting ready for work one morning and I saw a pair of Ellie's runners in the bottom of my closet that she'd left there. And I decided that was the day I didn't want to be sad anymore because I'd had enough of the uncontrollable tears, the frog in my throat and being sick to my stomach. So I just decided that I didn't want to be sad. So I bottled it and I just kept it at arm's length and I said, that's it, I'm not doing that anymore. And I ended up moving forward. Like, Ellie wasn't forgotten, but I moved overseas. I had new jobs, had new partners. And it wasn't until years later that I was seeing unhelpful patterns in my behavior that I wasn't liking. And like I've already mentioned that I was a hothead and I was anger, I was bitter, I was aggressive, I was always bubbling, ready to arc up and have an argument, never ready to have a discussion. And I would wander through life not being able to trust who I was and what I was capable of doing with my anger. And I thought that was just who I was because of what I'd been through with Elle. And also I've already mentioned my childhood upbringing about being in a high love, but high energy and high anger home. And I just thought my default operating system was like happy, 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 angry, happy, 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 angry, with these spikes of anger that would come sort of out of nowhere. And I had no control of once I was out of the gates and acting on anger. And for me, that I wasn't going to be able to live life like that. That wasn't sustainable. I was exhausted. I was in my head all the time. I was hurting people's feelings around me. I was hurting my own feelings. So I went back to therapy and tried to figure out what was going on. And I learnt that what I'd done by looking at Ellie's runners that day and bottling sadness and keeping sadness at arm's length is that I'd prematurely halted the grieving process. And it was coming out for me in unhelpful ways, and that was anger. So I had to learn that emotions aren't good or bad. Emotions aren't positive or negative. It was how we react to them that's important. So I learnt then it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. I've already mentioned this. It's the reaction to it that's important. So then I'm like, okay, well, if I can be sad and I can be angry, then I can lean into my emotions and I can figure out what I'm feeling and talk about it. And that was the shift for me. And then I was allowing myself then to be sad again. So the rest of the grieving for Elle was starting to come out then. And I would be grieving or allowed myself to be sad when music came on, when I was watching particular TV shows or hearing stories, and allowing myself to cry and not feel like I was, again, broken or not allowed to be around other people because I was being sad. So that grieving process took a long, 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 long time. And I've had people interview me before saying, oh, do you think you've grieved long enough? Or do you think grief is healthy to carry around? And I say, yeah. And it's not like I grieve for Elle every day. That would be unhealthy at this point or unhelpful at this point. And I see grief as, if you imagine like a square, and the square is your life, you getting along with life. And then when grief happens, it's a big ball that takes up most of that square. And when the ball hits the square, it hurts. And that's grief interrupting your day-to-day life. So that is grief early on. And then as time goes on, that ball of grief within that square gets smaller and smaller. And it hits the sides and it interrupts your life less. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, but it interrupts your life and it hurts maybe less and hurts less often. So grief is going to be with me forever. And I think that that's not only okay for me, but it's really okay for Elle and respectful for Elle. Like, she should be remembered. And that grief doesn't always mean sadness. Sometimes I'll be driving past her old street. I'm like, that's Ellie's old street. Or I hear a particular song like, that's Ellie's old song.
It's also the love.
The love.
Love, yeah.
And which is a good time to mention, like, the level of love that you had for that person probably is going to match the level of grief. So it's important that grief is probably going to be with me forever, not just for Elle, but not for other people that I lose along the way. And the only way I can get my head around grief, because it is really confusing, the only way I can get my head around grief, it's sadness times confusion equals grief.
Yeah, right.
And that's the only way I've been able to try and easily and quickly put it into words and to remember that the way Jack Davis grieves is completely different to the way the next person grieves, to the way Elliot grieves. And the way Jack grieved for Elle is different for the way Jack grieves for Bo and Jack grieves for the next person. It's okay to grieve. Grieving is healthy. Trust me, I've fucked it up for years. There's a point here that I like to make is that we can be in the shit with grief and it can be all-consuming and it's awful. It's awful. And it's okay to take intentional breaks from grieving, and it might be paint, run, play golf, listen to a podcast, whatever that is. Those intentional breaks are healthy because that grief you're going to come back to. Where I find that the breaks from grief don't lend itself to being healthy or helpful is that when you're like, I need to play golf. I need to paint. I need to exercise so I don't think about the grief. That's when we're not giving the grief the airtime that it needs and to let it pass through us.
Almost like you're distracting yourself. The distraction, yeah.
You're just distracting yourself. And that's what I did for a long, long time and it didn't work. So it was that hard lesson I learned over years and years of punishing myself and maybe not being the best person, boyfriend, colleague, son, brother for a while, showing up as that person that made me realize that I had to change. And that was a blessing. Like, it was amazing that I was able to do that because I wasn't happy with who I was. It wasn't sustainable. If that was life for me, I was fucked. And I was lucky to have the person and the people around me to stay with me as mates, and then also to be able to figure out like that being emotional is okay.
Yeah.
Treating your emotions and talking about it is okay. And the feeling, and you said it at the very start about the feeling about how to get these things off your chest. There's just nothing like it.
No, it isn't. And like I really feel like that because when I was sort of going through that grieving process and also like understanding my emotions, I was so, I rejected it all. I didn't want to feel it. I was over feeling this. So I just shut off completely and went numb to not only the grieving process of feeling sadness or, anger. What I did was I thought I was shutting off just those emotions, but I actually shut off to happiness and joy and all the good things in my life. And I went completely numb for, I reckon, a year where I thought I was doing a good thing, but I don't want to feel this anymore. But unknowingly, I actually shut off to all the positive things in my life, all the happy things in my life. And I became like almost like a zombie. And because I wasn't fulfilling the lows, I also wasn't feeling the highs either. And I had to really recognize the fact that, it's okay to feel like this. It's okay to feel the low. It's okay to go through it all. It's necessary in the process. But what you get out of that is also the positives too, the highs that you go through, the happiness and joy in my life. Yeah, there's been some terrible, painful, emotional things, but I've also experienced massive highs of love and joy and happiness in my life where I've connected with beautiful people. And like I've really understood the fact that I've got to take the good and bad in my life. I can't just have it all one way and understand that they're just moments in your life that you've got to accept and go through. And either way, they're going to make you stronger and better people. And if you learn from those lessons and you learn from what you go through, you will become a better person on the other side.
Yeah.
Where I did not want to feel like that. I didn't want to feel the uncomfortableness. But now I sort of embrace that now and understand that it's just part of the journey. It's cool to cry.
Yeah.
We are running short of time, but it's cool to cry. Amazing brand, but it's not only that, it's mental health awareness. How did you get that started?
Well, that's a good question. And I'll just going to pick up on one thing. It's not mental health awareness, it's mental health action. Mental health action, because I think we're all aware of mental health now, and it's our job to make sure that people can turn the awareness into action. Like, what are we doing? Because awareness without action actually means fuck all. It just sits with us in our head and we do nothing. So having people like you tell your story like that, and a few really vulnerable, once upon a time, shame-ridden things is going to help other people go, okay, cool. Well, if he can talk about it, I can talk about it. So I'm a big believer in mental health action. And how did this come about? Well, it wasn't long after I realised about this emotional journey that I can go on and not be ridiculed, that a mate's dad died by suicide, and this was in 2021. And that threw me back into the confusion and shock with Elle. But there's an added layer here, because on one hand, we've got Elle, who's young and female, about to start her career. And on the other hand, we've got Matt, who's just died by suicide. He's older, male, and he's just retired. Like, on paper, they're two completely different people. How are they dying from the same thing? and what's happening to everyone on the inside and everyone on the outside of the Elles and the Matts of the world. So that's when I put my head together. I'm like, I've got to do something. I've got to do anything to try and prevent the stories like Ellie and Matt, and to try and get people talking and feel the benefits of talking about your mental health, just like I know now. And that's when, It's Cool to Cry came to me after a lot of brainstorming and sketches and all this stuff. And it was all I knew was to slap that onto a T-shirt and try and get people wearing it down the street so that these conversations could start in an ad hoc, informal way, whether you're lining up for a coffee or you're at the family dinner table and they're like, what's that T-shirt? And then bang, we're out of the blocks and having these conversations that might not necessarily have happened. But I'm a firm believer that 80% of the work is starting the conversations.
It is, yeah. It's a natural icebreaker, the brand, isn't it?
Thank you, And like the people that wear it, the proud mental health advocates that can wear it, I'm hoping that not only they are they're walking billboards for mental health action and the brand, but I'm hoping that, they've got a feeling like when you wear your Nike and your Puma and your Adidas and you go to the gym, you're prepared or preparing for a physical health challenge. I want people to wear It's Cool to Cry and be prepared or preparing for any mental health challenge, and just know that there's someone, and not me, there's someone in their corner.
I love that. It's Cool to Cry, has that healed a version of you?
I think it might have been the full stop. I don't think it was a healing because I was already doing it.
You were already doing it.
I was already doing it or going through it. And it's probably the full stop or the comma. I'm sure there's more sentences or the rest of the sentence to go.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the healing part because that had already started. I think it would have been maybe unfair if I had the brand and not healed.
Yes.
Because I've got to make sure that I'm preaching or practicing what I'm preaching.
Exactly. Do you feel like we're getting better as a society in terms of having these conversations and talking?
Yeah, you have to say yes because we are. Because this podcast and podcasts like it didn't exist 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So yes. However, what I'll ask you some questions. Why don't let's go with men. Why don't men talk about their stuff? What are some reasons? Just reel them off.
A lot of the reasons is what I found, especially with sort of the footy thing, is a lot of the ego or they're worried about what people are going to think. A lot of it's the how it's modelled to us. The chats what I've had with a lot of men is what their dads showed them. So it's like that sort of the older generation still coming through in us.
Yep.
They might feel embarrassed. They might feel not accepted. They might feel like no one's going to relate to them. These are the things that I felt. And as soon as I opened up, I had all these rugby mates going, I feel the exact same way. And I was like, really? We're all in this spot together.
Yeah.
And none of us opened up because of all the same reasons, and all it takes is one person to sort of open up. So I think a lot of it is a lot of men, and it's definitely those insecurities around being judged or seen as weak, the weakness thing. Like, one of my things that I had to tell my dad to stop saying, and it's a habit that he gets into, is toughen up. I fucking hate it.
Toughen up, man up, chin up.
I had to get angry at him one day.
Yeah.
I'd just be like, can you fucking stop saying that? I know that it's bred into you. I know it's generational. I know your dad said it to you, but you need to stop saying it. It's useless. It means nothing. It's a negative way of thinking. I need you to stop saying toughen up, because I have grandkids one day. I do not want you to say that to them. I've really sort of had to sort of, put a line in the sand. So I think a lot of those elements could definitely come into why men, a lot of my friends group, because of the podcast, because we're so open, because we've gone through a lot of stuff, I love my friends group that it's evolved and changed so much now where we have these gym meetups. Yeah, we exercise, but a lot of it's just like a chat, like a cat chat for a chat. And everyone's like, yeah, I'm going through something at the moment. I'm like, yes, like I love that. I've got this community now where a lot of my mates, a lot of my male friends are so open to be like, I need to grab a coffee. I'm going through something at the moment. Yeah. Fuck yeah, sick, let's go. And it'll be, it could be a half an hour chat. It could be there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But I really love that we're sort of fostering that sort of, safe environment in my friends group. But I think it's got to come from, a place of, you're being genuine about it. You're being authentic about it. Yeah. Like, the place of vulnerability, you've got to put yourself out there. And that allows other people to be like, all right, well, we can we can do this too.
Well, yeah, bingo. And this is how we do it. It's you've mentioned a few things here, and it resonates with something I like to call vulnerability dominoes.
Yeah.
If one person can do it, you make it easy for the next, and then the easier for the next, and the easier for the next. And all those things you said about why men in particular can't or won't or don't speak, all valid. But you know what's confusing? Confusing is that I hear the same, like weak. This is one that's I'm tossing around with at the moment. It's like, it's weak, it's weak, it's weak. But then as soon as someone does it, especially on socials or whatever, the first comments are so courageous, so brave. Those things don't match. So we've either got to stop calling it weak or stop calling it brave.
Yeah.
Because it actually shouldn't be brave and it shouldn't be courageous. It should just be normal. So to say it's weak and then call it brave, those things don't match up. But I get why there are so many barriers to it. But there's got to be the person in that friendship group or whoever it is to start that game of vulnerability dominoes and get the benefits that you and your mates have now, because it can happen.
Yeah.
It can happen. You said it before, like you came out and said all those things to your rugby mates, and most or a lot of them said, me too, me too, me too. Like you'd be surprised about how many people are going through something similar despite having unique issues and unique struggles person to person. We're all going through something.
100%. I've got some quick fire questions here to finish off, so you can answer these as quickly or as long as you want. How have you defined success, not only professionally but personally?
Success for me professionally, I would just like to be able to, probably similar to you, I would just like to be able to help a shitload of people and also make a living. Like I don't necessarily want to have two jobs. I don't necessarily want to have to Airbnb my second bedroom, all of those, sell unwanted Christmas gifts on Facebook Marketplace, like all of those things. Success for me would be able to make a living out of, it's cool to cry. From a personal point of view, I have always wanted a life of peace and calm, probably because of what's happened in the last 30 odd years. So my level of success for me personally would be a house that is peace and calm. And I already mentioned this about what I liked about Elle, and it's a bit weird and silly. So that's my level of success, a life that's weird, silly, but also peaceful and calm.
Something just came up then that I kind of wanted to ask you is, how has it affected relationships moving forward?
I was like always honest with partners about it, because it's, again, fair to Elle, fair to them, and fair to me. I've got a girlfriend at the moment, Louisa, and she is very supportive, probably listened to this podcast, listens to a lot of them, bounce a lot of ideas off her. So she knows how the brand started, and she knows a lot about Elle because of how much I speak about it and want to speak about it in relation to the brand. So Louisa and all other partners that I've had have been amazingly supportive about it.
Love that. Do you have any non-negotiables that keep you centered?
Good question. Maybe similar to you in that you've got your checklist. I've got a few things that are just, they have to be habits. And only in the last couple of years have I really tried to pay respect to sleep. Used to be a big sleep when I'm dead cat.
Yeah.
That just doesn't, I just know now that it doesn't work. So like I've gone full like red night light to read my book, like no phone, all this sleep hygiene, all that sort of stuff, special pillows, bullshit like this.
Does it help?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does,
Like even to last night, didn't have the greatest sleep, but I know that I'm trying to give myself the best possible sleep. Just like if you train, you've got to eat well. Like give yourself the best possible chance to train well by eating well. So the non-negotiables are actually like more around what are my habits and what do I like to do, not because they make me feel really good. I actually just enjoy doing them as well. And like I work by myself for myself. Like there are days where I'll go hours without speaking to people, but I'll pay to go to the gym with a mate and train with other mates because It's a social thing.
It's that connection.
It's the connection thing. And we talk about all sorts of stuff, whether it's money, memes, or mental health.
Yeah.
Everything gets covered.
I love that. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned about yourself so far?
Right. Biggest lesson. I think what's happening over the last few years, because I got this started, it got full-time attention and love and energy. It's cool to cry when I got made redundant 2.5 years ago. And I remember having like these, probably the closest thing to a panic attack that I ever have had at my desk, saying that you're awful. You're awful at this job. You're shit at this job. You'll be shit at the next one. You've got no fucking hope. What are you going to do? What are you going to turn to? And like being at my desk, like fucking wigging out and genuinely believing it. And now having put, 2.5 years into this and like be very open and honest, like, and I said to you before we started recording, or maybe just at the start, it's like, it's not bringing in the full-time dollars. Takes up full-time time and energy and love and effort. But to see the response to people and having people write back to me once they buy some merch and say why they bought it and why it helps them. And then when I go and deliver workshops to corporates and get the feedback in real time, or people DM me afterwards saying how helpful that was, it's telling me that I'm on the right path of I'm not hopeless, I'm not useless, I'm not shit. And the next thing that I try, which was this, you're actually going okay at. And just to remind myself of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I still have those thoughts at the moment now. And it's just like I have those inner dialogues with them and I say to them, thanks, but that's not true.
Yeah, good one.
Thanks, but I know that's not true. I've done a lot of reading about it. It's like it's your internal trying to keep you in the safe zone. Like, don't go do that because that feels, we don't know. That's the unknown. We don't know what that feels like. It's better off if you just stay in the mind. Just stay in the mind. It's easy money. And I'm like, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I don't need you guys right now. I know why you're here, but I don't need you right now. It's all good. Yep. And then I sort of go off. So practicing that internal dialogue with those thoughts in my head is sort of a daily practice for me. But I'm so much better at it. People think I'm weird, or Jordan's like, who are you talking to? I'm like, just talking to you can always name them, but they pop up every now and again. And I just tell them, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. You're safe, buddy. I don't need you right now. What makes you happy?
What makes me happy? This is a tricky one, because when we're talking about emotions, emotions aren't good or bad. I know we try and strive to be happy, and like we all want to do that. I don't know. Look, sometimes I'm just really wrapped with finishing a Sudoku. I don't need big, outlandish things to make me happy sometimes. And again, like if it's a house of calm, if it's a house of peace and jingles and being weird and silly, they're probably the things that point to happiness or being content or comfortable, those sort of things.
What are you most grateful for?
I'm most grateful for probably just the way everything's panned out and the way, and I'm not saying this lightly, like, your girlfriend died and your mates have died. Like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there used to be ways where I would talk about myself and to myself, and if I had the chance to go back, in fact, during therapy, your therapist would say, what would you tell your younger self? And I would say to them, on one day I would say to them, nothing, because it's all going to work out and he will work it out. It will be fine. And then another day I'll say, actually, I wouldn't mind just going up to him saying, look, mate, it's going to be okay. Go easy on yourself. So I'm grateful for what has happened in terms of the journey. Like don't want to get all woo-woo and a bit weird and spiritual on anyone, but I'm just happy with and grateful with how everything is going.
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot. It's like, if you could go back and tell that little Elliot something, I don't know, because even though I, almost didn't make it and I hurt a lot of people, and there was a lot of things that I wish didn't happen. It's made me who I am today, and I love the person that I am today. And I don't know that I would have learned it any other way. Like if you gave me if you said something that would change something, I wouldn't be the person. I wouldn't have the perspective that I have on life and I have on people and I have on myself, and I wouldn't have this massive drive to be a better version of myself. And to help other people. I think everything would have been different if I got, told myself a bit of advice at a younger age. So like you said, I am super grateful for how everything's turned out. I'm super blessed to be here, to be alive today. And there was a part of me where the dream was to be a rich, famous rugby player. That was a dream, but I'm living my dream right now. I really am. Like, I love my life. I love everyone in it. I love what I get to do. I don't love going to the mines, but also it allows me to do this. So, I 100% agree with you, mate. It's super grateful for what we got right now.
Yeah, and we're also very lucky that those pills didn't kick in your apartment after that night out. So
100%.
yeah, mate, we're lucky to have you.
If people take one thing away from this episode, what do you hope they hear?
Cool. Do you mind if this is going to take a few minutes. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I reckon the biggest thing that's holding us back from talking about our own mental health is comparing.
Yes.
Somebody else has it worse.
Mm.
How often do we hear that? So I can't talk about my problem because someone else has it worse. So to try and get around that, I like to use a thing called, two things. One's called the mental health pain scale.
Mm.
So we would have all used a physical health pain scale. How much does it hurt out of 10?
Mm.
And on your physical health, whether it's a 2 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, you get it checked out because the 2s are like niggles.
Mm.
And if you don't do anything about them, they can become 3 or 4s or 5s. The 8s, you get them checked out because they're painful, potentially irreversible or chronic. So let's think about our mental health in the same way and put ourselves on our own mental health pain scale. Keeping in mind that this is our scale and we're allowed to address the 2s because they're niggles. And if we don't, they could become something worse, 3s, 4s, 5s. And we're allowed to talk about the 8s because, like you experienced, they could be something irreversible, they could be something chronic or really painful. So think about how we don't compare our physical health. We don't compare our mental health. So that means if we are looking for the person that has it worse, good luck, because there's always going to be someone that has it worse. And then if we're at a 5 out of 10 on our pain scale and someone else is a 7 out of 10 on their pain scale, does that mean, this is a question to you, does it mean that I can't talk? Because I'm at a 5 and someone's at a 7. Does it mean that I can't talk?
No, it doesn't mean that.
Okay, how come?
Because your pains were relative to you.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And if I don't do something about the 5, what could happen?
It could turn into a 7 or an 8.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then if it turns into an 8, that means that person on the 7, they can't talk.
They can't talk because I'm above them.
Bingo. So the whole thing falls over on itself. So that's an easy way for people to do 2 things. 1, get past this comparison trap that we have around not being able or not wanting to talk about our own mental health because someone has it worse. It's a fucking barrier that we learnt off someone. I don't know, it's probably the first viral thing that anyone ever said. I can't talk about my feelings because someone has it worse. So we can get over it that way. And then when we're talking about comparing, is that we know that if we are on a 5 at our own mental health pain scale and someone else is above, it doesn't matter that they're above. What matters is that our pain is relative to us and we have the right and the responsibility to either keep it at a 5 or make it a 4. It doesn't mean we can't look after the 7s and 8s as well. We're all in this together because we're playing the wrong game. We're playing the game that we're pretending everything is perfect. But if we can all acknowledge that we've all been through something, we've all gone through something, and we're all on our own mental health pain scale that will go up and down over the day, the week, the month, then that's fucking okay too. And that's the connection piece that makes us normal and makes us human. And we should really be leaning into that game rather than pretending everything's perfect.
Love that. I love that. So, because I heard a father and son talk about that, and the son was, going through his pain was, it was at school one day and they didn't have enough crayons for him to, to paint with.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is the worst day ever. And there's a guy saying, it can't be the worst day ever. Someone else has got it harder. But relative to him, he's only lived a short life. That's painful for him. That's a 10. Even though for us, it's a 1. But for him, that's a 10. So you got to treat it with respect and validate that his feelings, that's a 10 for him. Even though for us, it could be nothing. And the same with your mental health. All because, you're going through something at a 3 doesn't mean it's not, you're not valid. It's all relative to what you've been through. I really appreciate that. One last question.
Yeah.
Do you have a question for me before we finish?
Yeah, we're going to split this croissant. I'm fucking starving. My question to you is going to be, all right, yeah, I've got one. Have you cried in the last 12 months?
Yeah,
Have you
heaps.
cried in the last 3 months?
Yes.
1 month?
Yes.
Week?
Yes.
24 hours?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering this. Can I ask you a question about what made you cry in the last week?
Yep. So I go through my periods where I drive out to work. So it's a 2-hour drive from the airport out to my mine site. And Jordan asked me about this the other day. And I cry every time I go out there.
Wow.
Every single time I drive out to work or drive back from work to the airport, I cry in that 2 hours. I think about things that I may have not embraced in the moment, maybe conversations that I've had in the past or episodes that I chat to people. And in the moment, I'm sort of, understanding, absorbing it all in. But it's not until later on when I actually really think about what was done, what was said. That's when I can really and music's a big one for me. Like I play a bit of buddy John Mayer or a bit of Jack Johnson or something, and then the tears just start flowing, and I actually love it. I actually feel it feels so nice that I'm sobbing and trying to drive on the road. But it's kind of like my release, and Jordan asked me this question not too long ago, because how often do you cry? I go, every time I go out to work. You're right. And it could be things that happened recently. It could be things like one of the biggest cry sessions I've had lately that has been multiple sort of car rides is the episode with my dad that we spoke about. That keeps coming up because I want to be a father one day. I think about the way he fathered. I think about my childhood. And then I think about the things that he said happened to him as a child. And I just get so sad that his childhood got taken away from him. He didn't experience the things that he made us experience. Like we had such an amazing childhood. Every child should be treated with so much love and freedom to expression, and they should be able to play whenever they want and have loads of fun. And Dad just never had that. His childhood got taken away from him, and he had to sort of rebuild himself as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old with so much emotional trauma. That's a lot of the cry sessions I've had lately. Is just thinking about that's 13-year-old boy trying to survive in a household that was just full of violence and full of just hate. So that's been sort of on my mind lately. I had a mate who came on the podcast, a good mate of mine who did an deployment overseas in the military. Saw some really, really heavy things that have scarred him for a very long time. And he came on the podcast for the first time and he shared his story. And in that moment, I'm trying to keep the conversation going and trying to be present and ask questions and stuff. And, and it wasn't until later on when I actually listened to the episode back and actually sat with it. I'm I actually listened to the words that are coming out of his mouth and all the weight of it and not, not knowing what he was going through, not asking questions. And, he was living down in Sydney at the time, but, he wanted to jump off a cliff and he was, at the cliff, ready to go. And those moments, those things really get to me. I think in those car rides where I'm playing music, I actually really empathize and try to put myself in these people's positions and understand what they're going through at that time in their life. And also these are all people that I love. These are people that mean the most to me. And I get a little bit sad when I think about, a life without them, a life with them not here. But I also have car rides where I cry with happiness. There was a point in time where I never thought this was possible for me. I never thought this would be the life that I could live. Mm-hmm. And I'm driving and I'm how good's this?
Nice.
I love this. I cry with happiness and joy and think about what I could have missed. I know I shouldn't play the game of what if, but sometimes I think about, man, look what I could have missed out on. If I kept going the way that I was going, look what I would have missed out on. I would have missed out on the love of my life, building a life with her, spending more quality time with my parents that are getting old and, one day we'll have to say goodbye to them. And I had this naive thinking that parents will live forever. But watching my parents get old, I'm man, life is fragile. Life is precious. And that whole experience has made me really, for the very first time, like we talked about being, worried about the past and worried about the future, this whole journey for me, the biggest lesson I've learned is being present in the moment. It has really taught me to be present in the moment. When I'm with Jack, sitting with you, nothing else matters apart from me and you. When we go off and I'm with someone else, nothing else matters apart from that person that I'm with at that moment. So it's just really taught me to just be present in times, even in times of frustration, in times of pain, in times of, why am I out at work here doing this? Or something happened here. And I'm like, fuck, why does this happen to me? And I have to catch myself and go, it's all part of the story. It's all part of the journey. I learned so much in times of, in those negative times, I learned so much about myself. So yeah, it's all been amazing.
Nice.
Thank you so much for coming on today, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, not only to hear your story and the work that you're doing now, but just to get to know you on a more personal level. You're a good man. You're doing great things. So I'm really proud of you.
No, likewise, Elliot. That was a chat, mate. Thank you very much. That was a beauty.
Appreciate it. Should we hook into this croissant now?
Say hook up. I'm like, what?
I don't think our partners would.
Don't think so. I've got one ask.
Oh, yeah,
Is that all right?
Yeah.
You've probably got listeners that are a part of this podcast in some way, shape or form. My ask is for them to do one more thing a bit extra than they usually do. So whether they listen and don't subscribe, now subscribe. And if they see you on Instagram and they don't like now. And if they usually now comment or now share or now save, and just do one little thing extra each time you see one of Elliot's podcasts or Instagram posts, just to help him out, because this is hard yakka. He's doing this for love at the moment, and he still goes off and works his ass off in the mines, has a partner that he's trying to look after, wants to have kids one day. Just try and do something a bit extra that means bugger all for you, but upon adding up, compounding, it's going to mean a lot for Elliot. So please do that for him.
Oh, I appreciate that, mate. That means a lot. Thank you.
Of course, mate.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Mind Your Head. If you'd like to support the show, be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really supports the show and helps others discover us. Don't forget to join us on Instagram and TikTok at mindyourhead.podcast. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we record this podcast, the Gubbi Gubbi people. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Indigenous peoples. We honour their enduring connection to the land, waters and culture, and recognise their invaluable contributions they make to our communities. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.